I'm joined by Armagh's All-Ireland winner from 2003, Stevie McDonnell. Stevie, how are you doing?
Not too bad. 2002, Shane, not 2003.
Hey, maybe that was just kind of, maybe you should have done it in '03 as well, huh?
Yeah, well, we tried our best, but we just weren't good enough on the day.
Yeah, well, okay, well, that misstep aside, hopefully I don't have any more. What are your thoughts on Armagh at the moment? After that 17 points to 15 win over Derry, were you impressed? Because, there's been all this talk that can Armagh hold on to Leeds, but they did here.
Yeah, but listen, we expected at some point in the second half, Derry were going to come back at them. Armagh had a bit of a breeze in the first half, and for the first 5 to 10 minutes in the second half, there was a bit of an onslaught, but they weathered the storm all right. And to be fair, they managed the game well. I thought, with about 15, 20 minutes left, anytime that Derry came within a point or two, Armagh always seemed to find a way to get another score, which is very important, and they maintained their lead throughout the game, which is a good sign as well. But going to Celtic Park is never an easy task, and to score 17 points, given the conditions that we had at the weekend as well, is very impressive. Now they conceded 15 points, which is a concern, but to come away from Celtic Park with a win on any day is a good thing.
And when you consider that the team has just gotten promoted up to Division 1, it probably would have been a bit of a disaster to get knocked out straight away and take away a lot of the good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely, and that in itself probably added a wee bit more pressure onto the Armagh players' shoulders as well. And when you are, I suppose, a team that's looking to gain promotion and you get promotion, and you're going into a championship match in such a short space of time, there's an expectancy there that you're going to always perform, and that's not always the case. And Derry, while they played Division 3 football, probably should have been promoted just from forcing them to miss out promotion. And in reality, Derry, as we know, aren't a Division 3 football team anyway. They would be Division 2 standard at the minute, and so there was never ever going to be much between the two teams. So I, as an Armagh fan, I'm just delighted that our track record over the last decade or so hasn't been that great in the first round of the championship. I'm delighted to be able to get that done and dusted and get over the line.
Are you impressed with the team that Kieran McGeeney's been putting together? I mean, if you just think of some of the quality there, Rian Oisin O'Neill, Jamie Clark, Rory Grugan, Niall Grimley came on and was brilliant, winning 3 kickouts. Aidan Farker, Stephen Campbell. It's an impressive looking team.
Armagh, listen, there's been no secret about the fact that Armagh, certainly from an attacking point of view, have been decent over the last couple of seasons. I still think there's a wee bit of maturing in the team, and hopefully by playing Division 1 football next year, they will learn a wee bit faster as well. But, we know that there's a talented group of players in Armagh. We know that on any given day they're capable of putting it up to any team, and we'll be hoping that we can get a big performance from them against Donegal in a couple of weeks' time, that these boys can really show what they're made of. But definitely, you look at the likes of Rian and Oisin O'Neill, two brothers who are probably two of the most exciting talents coming up through the country at the minute. They're exceptionally good footballers that really believe in their own ability, and when you've got that confidence in your own ability, it I suppose it brings other players alongside you as well. And then Jamie, that was Jamie's best performance that I've seen in the last year or so. I know he'd been maybe a wee bit rusty in the 2 league games just post lockdown there, but definitely he showed up in the championship the other night, and probably played a more playmaking type of game, which I think it suits Jamie, so it does, because he has that creative spark. He has the vision to bring other players into the game, and doesn't always have to influence the game by getting scores. And Stephen Campbell, for me, is an exceptionally good footballer. He's a very talented player, and definitely every time he gets his hands on the ball, causes some level of concern to his opponents. So all in all, Armagh are exciting, but there's areas of improvement that they have to make if they're going to beat a team of the calibre of Donegal.
And would one of those be scoring a goal? Because it didn't really look like scoring one against Derry.
Yes, absolutely. They have to start finding the net again, and probably has been a stumbling block for them over the last couple of games. They've got players that are well capable of scoring goals. And listen, if you keep taking your points, goal opportunities will present itself. But I would like to see a goal or two, and I believe that they would need to get a goal or two to be able to beat the likes of Donegal as well. And the other thing is, an area of concern for me is that they seem to concede too many scoreable frees, and they need to tidy up on that there. And they certainly have, their defence has been criticised. Probably over the last while, but I know these players, and I know the qualities that they have, and they are good defenders. So it's just a case of brushing up on their tackling and keeping your opponents further away from the goals. And if they can clean up on their tackling, then I think they'll win games more comfortably.
The likes of Ryan Kennedy, he held Shane McGuigan scoreless from playing. McGuigan's an excellent player for Derry. Would you see a particular role for him against Donegal? Who do you think he might pick up?
Well, Ryan Kennedy could be tasked with the job of tracking Michael Murphy. It's never an easy task for any defender, but in the past as well, Brendan Donaghy has also done a good job of Michael Murphy. Now, Brendan didn't play at the weekend, but we don't know what the situation is with him at the minute, whether he's carrying a knock or not. But Brendan is the most experienced player that we have, and has that level of experience of playing not only against Michael Murphy, but he played alongside him with the international rules as well. So he has some kind of insight into how Michael tends to play. But Ryan Kennedy has been an exceptional performer for his club, Ballymacnabb, over the last couple of years, and was making his mark in the Armagh full back line, and is a good player, held a very good player, scoreless from play at the weekend. So he could be certainly one player that could be tasked with that job.
In terms of game management, it's one thing, there's blowing an 8-point lead against Westmeath, 4 points against Roscommon, 7 points against Clare, and obviously went on to win that game against Clare, but holding on to leads and managing games, Donegal is certainly a team that's going to test that, especially the way they won against Tyrone. And when that goal was conceded to Dara Canavan, the mistake at the back from Owen Gallagher, you'd think many teams would sort of collapse, low scoring game, give away a goal for nothing. So Armagh are going to have to be on their game to sort of manage the situation.
Yeah, well, listen, Donegal are the most seasoned team currently playing in Ulster football at the minute. So they are, they know what it takes to be successful at provincial level, and they've been in around the mix of the All-Ireland series for the last decade or so. So they've got players that have that quality that gets them across the line a lot of the times. And the goal scored against him, which was an exceptionally good goal, reminiscent of his father at the weekend in Dara Canavan's goal. But Donegal didn't panic, and when I look back maybe at the Armagh team that I played on, it probably reminded me somewhat of us, because we didn't seem to panic in situations like that. We just continued to play our own game at our own tempo, and got us across the line many times. And Donegal done exactly that against a very good Tyrone team, and big players stepped up, and Owen Van Gallagher got a couple of points. There's a few players really stepped up. Michael Murphy's driving runs from deep created openings, and there was a couple of chances that Donegal possibly could have even got more goals, and that's just the level of the team that they are. They didn't seem to have any cause of concern when Tyrone got their goal, and they just continued to play their own game, and that's what got them over the line in the end.
It's now 10 years since Armagh have beaten Donegal in the championship, and I think Jamie Clark scored a couple of goals that day.
Yeah.
Do you think at this stage does Donegal even have a psychological edge?
Yeah, and that certainly happens with teams. For the 10 years before that, we had that psychological edge over Donegal, as where they could always manage to beat Tyrone, and they couldn't beat us, and Tyrone were more successful in terms of All-Irelands in that decade. So it's just the way it goes. That humiliating defeat that we inflicted on them in Crossmaglen certainly was the pillar that turned the corner for them as a group of players, as a county, and they've kicked on ever since. And ever since that game, you wouldn't have thought that they would have had a decade of dominance over Armagh, but they have had. And but I keep going back to the quality of players that they have. Led by Michael Murphy and the likes of Ryan McHugh, Paddy McBrearty. These boys are top class footballers, as good as anybody in the country. And I always say, class comes out in the end, and if you've got players with that type of calibre, they're always going to be difficult opponents, and they have had the upper hand in Armagh. But Armagh, probably haven't faced Donegal, with the likes of Rian and Oisin O'Neill amongst the team, and the likes of young Conor O'Neill coming through, players that won't fear them but are very talented footballers as well.
Is there any area of this game you're particularly concerned about? I mean, if I'm looking at it from a neutral's point of view, I'm thinking we know the big names of Donegal, and McBurty wasn't even used the last day.
Yeah.
Jamie Brennan's brilliant, Michael Murphy's brilliant, but then you also have from deeper Kieran Thompson and Michael Langan putting up scores. So the threats are in all areas.
Yeah, listen, Donegal have threats in all areas, but anytime you come up against Donegal, you have to have serious concerns about the influence that Michael Murphy's going to have. He is probably and has been the most influential player in the country over the last 10 years. And if you can nullify his influence, then you have gone a long way to stopping the threat of Donegal. But, you've named numerous players there. I'm always a huge admirer of how Ryan McHugh comes and how he ghosts into positions that he can get scores. And how many times have we seen in the past Ryan McHugh from wing half back actually walking the ball into the net because he's ghosted into those critical positions. And then Jamie Brennan, a live wire corner forward as well, and the fear factor is then Paddy McBurty didn't even show against Tyrone, and he's probably going to be a wee bit fresher coming in for the Armagh clash, so that's definitely cause of concern as well. So they've got forwards that can absolutely rip a team apart, and if they get a supply of ball, I would be concerned about that. But at the same time, if the Armagh forwards get a supply of ball, the Donegal defence has to be on their toes as well. So there's areas of concern. The main one for me is definitely trying to curb the influence of Michael Murphy.
Mickey Hart was talking about the close attention that Conor McKenna got after the game, and he wasn't unbelievably happy with it. So we know that Donegal are going to be a physical team, and players like Jamie Clark might come in for close attention. Is that a concern from an Armagh point of view, that maybe Donegal are that more grizzled or physical type of team, or do you think Armagh have the answer?
No, listen, it's championship football. You have to expect a level of physicality to it, and yes, Donegal are probably more powerful than what Armagh are, and you look at the better teams in the country. Kerry are a big powerful team, Dublin are a big powerful team. These are the teams that I suppose inflict their influence physically on any game, and you expect that going into this game with Armagh and Donegal. I don't think Armagh will shirk the responsibility of it. They will in fact probably rise to that type of challenge. When Armagh go into a game when against the odds, they seem to perform at a better level, and I don't think the physical aspect of this game will be too much of a concern for them.
And where do you think Armagh can get most joy here?
Well, what I would prefer to see is the likes of Jamie and Rian O'Neill possibly staying a wee bit closer to goal, where the likes of Niall Grimley and Oisin can deliver long direct ball. And even if it was a case that Rian and Oisin, interchange play from time to time, but long direct ball has to be the key. And the players that do it best for Armagh are certainly the O'Neill brothers. Niall Grimley can do it, Stephen Campbell can do it, but for me, there's no point in having a really dangerous inside forward line if the ball is going to be run. You've got to utilise it and get the ball into those dangerous players and use the running power to come off the shoulder if that's what you want to do. But don't be carrying the ball into the tough, heavy tackling of Donegal, because they'll lead you up.
And over the course of your career, are there any games that stood out for you against Donegal?
Many games, come up against Donegal on loads of occasions, particularly in the championship. But the one game that sticks out in my mind is the 03 All-Ireland semi-final, and it was a game that Donegal possibly over the course of the 70 minutes were the better team, but they just lacked that wee bit of belief they would cross the line to beat us. But we stuck to our guns. We done exactly what Donegal done against Tyrone at the weekend. We stuck to our game plan. We didn't panic at any stage. And we got the goal at a crucial stage, which allowed us to kick on with 5 or 6 minutes left, and we ended up winning the game by 6 or 7 points. Now the scoreboard definitely was very kind to us on that occasion, because Donegal were by far the better team, but we just knew what to do to win games out and to get us across the line at that particular time. And that's always the game that sticks out in my mind. We obviously played Donegal in a couple of Ulster finals in Croke Park as well, and they are fantastic occasions. And we won them all, which was also very important too. But yeah, we lots of good run-ins with Donegal down through the years, and I'm expecting no different in a couple of weeks' time.
What do you think is a good season for Armagh here? I know it's knockout football and that adds to it, but
Yeah,
is a good performance here, does that amount to a good season because of Division 1 football, or do you need to go on and win an Ulster title?
I think before lockdown, I looked at a couple of interviews that the players were coming out with, and I've mentioned them a few times. The O'Neill brothers were talking about, it's about time Armagh were back challenging for Ulster titles again. And for me, it is about time that they were back challenging again. 12 years in the doldrums and 12 years since we've got to a final. And, regardless of how good and how capable Donegal are, Armagh have to get into this game full of belief and full of the attitude that they're going to win the game. And for me, definitely getting to an Ulster final and competing and hopefully winning it would be a real successful season for them, and it would be a real confidence booster for them going into play Division 1 football next year, and hopefully it would be a platform for them to build on. But they are going in as underdogs. I'm not taking that anything for granted here, but I think it's time that Armagh really stepped up and challenged for a provincial title again.
And just a final question then, who do you see as the favourite for the All-Ireland at the moment? Do you see Kerry as the common team, or Dublin still up at the top?
Listen, you have to fancy Dublin still. They've got any amount of fantastic footballers, but Kerry are the up-and-coming team and have run Dublin close, particularly last year. So if any team can cause an upset, then you would expect that it will be Kerry.
Okay, brilliant stuff, Stevie McDonnell. Really appreciate you joining me.
No problem at all.